We're going to hear Scott McKimmy's story. It is a very tragic story, and it's going to make you hold your kids a little bit tighter next time you see them, and make you really feel the love that you have for your children. This is a very heartbreaking story. I did hear about it not too long ago, and it's heartbreaking. So Scott, please tell our Dundalk TV viewers what your family has been going through.
Thank you, Scott. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to come on your show.
My pleasure.
My son went to work on August 7th, 2018. He was doing a home improvement job, and in the course of the day, two guys came to the house with intent to murder the owner. My son was on the back porch hanging aluminum siding, and two guys jumped the fence and came in the backyard, started shooting at the house. The owner's in the house shooting back. When the dust settled, the only one hit was my son. He was hit 3 times and died right on that back porch. The two shooters fled the scene. The owner of the house fled the scene. And long story short, no one's been charged yet. 9 days later, police arrested a guy named David Warren on unrelated charges. He was driving the same make, model, and color vehicle seen leaving the scene of my son's murder. He had a gun on him. They sent the gun for ballistics test, and it was a 100% match. It was the gun that killed my son. This gun was also used in 2 other homicides and 5 non-fatal shootings. All David Warren was charged with was 2 handgun violations, and City Prosecutor Linda Ramirez dropped those charges. A very violent repeat offender with a 92-page criminal record, arrested with a gun that killed 3 people, was just let walk free.
It's a horrifying story. Total nightmare. You're living this every day, waking up. Even if you do have resolution, it's not going to end. These situations go on for a lifetime. And yes. You may do well at different periods in time, but it can come rushing right back at you. So breaks my heart to hear that this happened to someone from my community, or anyone really, but to happen right in the community is really sad. Your community of Edgemere and Sparrows Point, I frequent that a lot of wonderful people there. To see your son being such a young man, having his life cut so short. I could see from the pictures you had scuba diving and things of that nature that you were close, and you were being relentless in your pursuit to have justice for your son. I commend you for that, and don't give up. If there's any way that I can help you, or if Donald can help you, we will do that. Now, Donald, I'd like to get your perspective on this, because you worked in the correctional facilities, and also you work in the sheriff's department now, and you kind of live, and you've lived in the neighborhood basically your whole life except for military, I believe, which yes. was what, about how long?
Oh shoot, I left. I got out the military in 1989.
Okay, so was it? Right. I think you said 10 years before, about
right.
10 years. Okay,
exactly.
So other than that, you lived in this area. So
pretty much.
And
yes.
where was the street that this took place?
It was on Woodley Avenue in the Frankfort neighborhood of Baltimore City. Okay, right off Moravia Road.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's
a little outside your area.
Right.
Okay, so what is your perspective on this issue?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to give you my condolences, number one. Number 2, I would never want to wear the shoes that you have to wear today. I have a 22-year-old son. You know, we live for our kids. Indeed. You know, that's when you ask the definition of a man or a woman, they live for something other than themselves and have a joy in their heart for doing it. And that's what you were doing with your son. Yeah. So you and your family have my most humblest of condolences. One of the biggest problems that I think that's going on in our communities right now is there's a lack of temperament. Temperament has become an endangered species in our communities. When you look at a lot of these young males out here today, a lot of them, they are emotional men. And I'm a victim of what I'm talking about. That's why I know. I was raised by a woman, and being raised by a woman, I became an emotional man because there was no man there to teach me temperament. Now, as I went along in life, I figured that out. But there are a lot of young people out here who have not figured that out. Hence is why you see the type of violence that you see in our communities now. No one has a sense of caring. No one has a sense of compassion for anybody. You know, there are two worlds that we live in. We live in the world of givers, and we live in the world of takers. The people who live in that world of takers, they don't have a clue about the world of givers. They can't even believe it. But when you spend every day trying to give to someone, you're always receiving back. And this situation right here, this is one of the most unfortunate situations that a parent can endure, is what you've endured. And again, you have my deepest condolences.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we didn't talk about this. I'm not trying to come at you with this, and I'm not trying to. I want your opinion, and I'm gonna ask Donald what his opinion is of this after you, and that is. I am tired of law-abiding citizens not being able to defend themselves. We're out on the streets. The criminals are running around with guns. It is totally insane. I don't know what your political affiliation is. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I'm not trying to go there, but I want to know, how you feel about the concealed carry, and if you would have preferred that your son was able to defend himself that day. It's a nightmare situation. I put myself in the shoes of other people. I kind of put myself just for a moment, took a moment to put myself in your son's shoes. It had to be an unbelievable moment and just unreal. So would he have liked to, do you think that he would have liked to have had a weapon or to possibly defend himself?
I'm sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm all for concealed carry. I'm for open carry.
Yes.
I mean,
Right.
these thugs out here on the street shooting each other up, if they know all of us law-abiding citizens
Absolutely.
are armed, they might think twice before they pull their
Well,
gun out and start shooting.
I'm for concealed carry, because if someone knows that they can see that you have a gun, they just might come up. They could try to take that gun from you, or they may possibly shoot first to rob. So having to conceal, that's why I like that. I would like to have that nationwide. I know that's a big bill to push, but that's what we need to.
I'm all for arming law-abiding citizens.
Too many people are dying. Too many people are dying on our streets, and they're unable to protect themselves. I know people that are actually carrying guns illegally because they want to take care of themselves and their families.
I'm not
and they're
against
like, they're like, I do everything else to the letter, but when it comes to protecting my family, there's no choice in this. The world is a crazy world that we're living in now. Baltimore has gone crazy. The bodies are stacking up, and it's a horrible situation.
And thing of it is, the only people they're trying to take the guns from are the law-abiding citizens. The criminals don't follow the law.
Absolutely.
They're not going to give their guns up.
There was a video that was made in the O'Donnell Heights area where there was all kinds of young men, and they all had guns. And I believe that's. Let me ask you that question, Donald. Is that the way the community, do you see that the community is just littered with guns in your community?
We got guns all over America. It doesn't matter whether it's a rural community or urban community. We got guns all over America.
Well, I mean with criminals. I mean with the criminals having the guns and
of course.
Okay, so
of course, with everybody.
Okay. Well, I wanted to get that perspective.
Well, let's look at it like this. I take it that everyone's seen the video with a Baltimore City police officer, I believe it was on North Avenue. He was effecting an arrest. And while he was trying to effect that arrest, there were a bunch of civilians standing around him, kicking him and making jokes about it and things of that nature, right? Well, I think that was a turning point. As far as opinion was concerned. See, because when people seen that officer on the ground getting kicked like that, you know what they said? They said, wow, if they do that to him, what will they do to me?
Indeed.
Well, and in Chicago, they were actually having a shootout with somebody in a house, a barricade situation. This goes back maybe 6 months or so, maybe even more. But they were throwing things at the police and taunting them while they're actually trying to take care of a barricade situation. I mean, just how much worse can that get? I mean, it's a horrible situation. And just let me make your point, please. And then I want to talk about our attorneys and the people that are actually prosecuting these cases, because we've had this discussion earlier, and we do not feel that the police are the problem. It's our political leaders and the people that are supposed to be doing the prosecuting.
Indeed.
And judges.
Well, let me just say this on that note, because I think you have to. There's certain aspects that you have to address when it comes to the police, right? When you talk about any occupational specialty that you can possibly do, any occupational specialty, police included, there's always going to be a human factor. Now, what do I mean by that? There's going to always be some flawed people in that business. And when those flawed people are in that business, they have a tendency to do wrong. Now, I believe that the worst kind of criminal out there is one with a gun and a badge, because those people are supposed to be the ones that we can trust, we can come to, right? And we know that we will be protected by those people. Now, unfortunately, we don't always have that. But what we would like to do is, when we don't have that, is we like to deal with those individuals accordingly and let the scales of justice deal with them in the way they have to be dealt with. But when it comes to what's going on in these communities as far as the violence and things of that nature, you know, we need the city needs an enema. That includes the local city government, because we have become a community where we victimize crime, and it has to stop. I don't hear none of these politicians running for mayor, and I've asked them all this question: which one of you will enforce all laws? And only two of them, right? Keith Scott and Michael Johnson actually got in touch with me and said, yes, I will enforce all laws. Now, what do I mean by all laws? We're trying to figure out what to do with squeegee kids. They're trying to figure out getting $1 million at one time. The mayor was talking about $1 million program to get them jobs. We shouldn't be getting $1 million programs to get squeegee kids jobs. We should be spending $1 million to put them back in school so they can be doing what they're supposed to do and become productive citizens in our society. Because right now what they're squeegee kids, right, whose future is going to be panhandlers. And we don't want them to be panhandlers. We don't want them to have the mindset that they have to beg somebody for something. You know, too many politicians are always talking about what we deserve, what we should be given. No, it's about what you should earn. That's what it's about. You know, don't give me fish, give me the pole. That's what I want, the pole.
So I want to go back to Scott. Now, Scott, what would you like to see done here? And do you think some people should lose their jobs over this?
Yes, I do. And I don't know who, but Baltimore City failed. Baltimore City dropped the ball. David Warren shouldn't even have been on the streets to be involved with my son's murder.
I would agree.
He had 9 attempted murders before my son was even killed.
And he has one right now in Baltimore County. And
Baltimore County put him away for 10 years.
Right, so there's a difference.
With no witness testimony. And here Baltimore City keeps telling me we can't charge him, we can't charge him. Donald said the city is littered with guns. Well, that's one of Baltimore City's excuses, for lack of better words, is that gun could have been passed around from person to person to person. Well, guess what? He was the one charged. He was the one caught with the gun. Charge him with it. That's the way I look at it. And let him tell them who killed my son. If not, let him take the rap for it. Because that's the way I look at it. He had the murder weapon.
Well, it doesn't really seem like any kind of real investigation was done. So
no, not at all.
And we had discussed earlier about the possibility of sharing something that's coming up soon. You don't mind me sharing that?
No, not at all. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I don't want to, overstep my bounds. So you have been very passionately going out there and
relentlessly
trying to get justice, and you have been reaching out to Governor Hogan. And,
I've been reaching out to all state and city officials, and until recently, I've just been totally ignored. I'm emailing Commissioner Harrison, MARILYN MOSBY, Mayor Jack Young. Haven't heard back from any of them yet. And Governor Hogan. And unfortunately, or maybe that's the wrong word,
well, you have a meeting. You have a meeting coming up.
Yeah.
But you have a meeting coming up.
I'm meeting with Governor Hogan tomorrow.
Congratulations. I know that's not easy. It
no,
takes
it's
a
not.
lot of hard work to.
And I've been informed he does not have jurisdiction over Baltimore City.
Yes.
But in my opinion, he's the governor of state. He should have some influence.
Yes, I would say so.
He should have some influence to say, hey, look into this again. Look into this again. Something's very wrong here.
Well, I think that he some levers and maybe get an investigation on what's happening there.
And
maybe
really
make some recommendations. He's giving millions of dollars to Baltimore City. They're going to him. They keep pointing the finger that it's the governor's fault that this stuff is happening, which it's not. The governor's been doing all kinds of things. He's brought millions of dollars in. He's put different units in there. There's been like 2,000 arrests quite a while back and everything. The governor is very concerned about what's happening with the.
He's saying enough is enough.
Right. Well, to me, the governor has done a great job. He does things that he really thinks is going to benefit the community. He does things from his heart, and I'm not going to say that I 100% agree with everything he does, but I didn't agree with everything that my parents did. Scott and I, we just met each other, but somewhere along the road, we're going to disagree about something. Same thing with Donald or anybody else that any of us know. So I just say, look back at O'Malley and look at what a wonderful job Governor Hogan has done. He's moved our state in the right direction, and he actually cares. So that's what we need, is someone that cares. And I think that's why he's such a popular governor, is because so many people do realize he cares. So is there anything else that you would like to share with us? Why don't you tell us a little bit about, but before we go, how this has affected your family? Because I think that's very important that people know.
It's tore our family apart. I went to work that day not thinking I would never see my son again. And my wife got the call at 12:30 p.m. from his coworker, and my wife called me in hysterics, screaming. Well, I couldn't even understand what she was saying, and I had to keep saying, Angie, calm down, Angie, calm down. And finally I got, Brian's been shot. And then I immediately hung up and called Brian's coworker, and he said, yeah, Brian's been shot behind the house we're working on. And I said, is he okay? And he said, the paramedics are working on him, but he's not moving. And I raced to the scene, and I got there, and a couple of the detectives came out, and my son didn't have no ID on him, so I had to describe some of his tattoos. And he had a tattoo of praying hands. I went and got that same tattoo. 56-year-old, I got my first tattoo. But that's the tattoo I described to the detective, and he walked around the back of the house, and he come back and he said, based on the tattoo you described, it's your son that's been killed here today.
Well, the thing is people go through life and they live in a bubble, and as long as it's not happening to them, so much stuff is happening around, and until it hits home, then the real reality comes in. The police aren't warning the community about things. We have shootings happening in my community, and they're happening very close proximity to schools. We have 2 elementary schools, a middle school, and 3 daycare centers. If you go around the corner, the community, CCBC, Dundalk Community College, is up on the hill, and so is the senior high. They're not making any warnings. There's a gunman on the loose. There's been shots fired in the community. We're having multiple robberies. Guess who does that? I do that.
Right.
And you know why? Because I don't want to see any kid out there, or a parent, grandparent, or anything, taking their kid back and forth to school and wind up like your son. Because it's a horrifying situation, and the world that we live in today, I walk past kids as I'm going different places and everything, and it's hard to believe that parents are even letting their kids out of the house. Our communities have become more like a war zone, and we've been very lucky not to have any kids caught in the crossfire, but your son is a perfect example of how the people that want to have a gun battle could care less who gets caught in the middle.
Indeed.
And this is a very powerful message, and I'm going to ask you if there's anything else that you want to say, and also if you have some kind of support group or anything that you want people to come and support your family and what is going on with there to have justice, how they can do that.
The only support group I've really used is a group called the Family Survivor Network. And there's a lady by the name of Pam Stein, which I'm sure she don't mind me using her name. And she was just a godsend. She's went with me with meetings to Baltimore City Baltimore City Homicide Unit, which I want to say they're doing the best they can. You know, they get more on their plate every single day. And, you know, when I said earlier that Baltimore City dropped the ball, I blame the prosecutors and the judges. I don't blame Baltimore City Homicide Unit. They want to charge this man now, but the prosecutors say there's not enough evidence. So I just want to say I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to go away until I get justice for my son. Justice for Brian, just like my wristband says.
And can I add something to that?
Well, if you don't mind, let me just share some information first, and that is that I would like to thank Pam Stein for reaching out to this family, because in a situation like this, she is an angel. I really don't know anything about her other than what you had just said, but I know that when I take my cross display out there that deals with people with opiate issues, and they die from opiate issues, people that lose their lives in car accidents and things of that nature, and that can be locally or what I do online, that people actually, it means so much to them to know that someone cares. And I want to let you know that I care. I want to let you know that it's no problem for me to say Donald cares. He definitely cares too.
Thank you.
And Donald, you wanted to share something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, you know, there are many more good police officers out here trying to do a good job in Baltimore City than there are bad police. And like I said, any police that goes out here and commits a crime, that's the worst kind of criminal you can get, because that's someone that you're supposed to be able to trust. But they have their hands tied behind their backs too, to a degree, because, and I'll give you an example. We all know the state's attorney made an announcement about a year or so ago about the marijuana issue. And she basically said that she's no longer going to prosecute possession of marijuana cases, and she also said no matter what the weight. Right now, you think about that for a minute. What did that do for the Baltimore City Police Department, who had to go out there and still police people, right, who were violating the law as far as marijuana was concerned? Now that makes them look like, not only does it make them look like the bad guy, but you got a general public that is now confused because the state's attorney comes out with this announcement, right? You got people out there who actually believe that it's legal to smoke marijuana now, and it's not.
Well, guess
so
what?
Then you've created.
Let me jump in there for a second. From what Scott just shared, it's legal to commit murder as well.
She contradicts everything the police officers do.
Well, you know, it's,
in my opinion.
Yeah, it's sad, and you know, we have a police shortage here in Baltimore City, and part of that problem is because, you know, no one wants to come and work in a city, right, where they don't feel like the community has any respect for them, the people that they're going to work for has any respect for them, so they go other places and work. So this is a real problem that we have, and in order to address this problem, you have to deal with the real issues that are in these communities, and they're not really being dealt with.
Indeed.
Please continue, Scott.
I just agree with everything he said. They're not being dealt with, you know.
Well, I definitely agree with that as well.
You know, from the marijuana possessions to the murders. and everything in between.
It's called lawlessness.
Yes, it's total chaos. I won't even drive through Baltimore City anymore.
And
I understand.
that's shameful. You know,
I used to love taking my kids to the Inner Harbor.
Right.
You know, it's not worth risking my life now.
Well,
Mine or my family's.
I'm saying every day now that there's more than enough hate going around. What we need is more love, and our society is mean-spirited. People want to attack each other online all day long. I've heard it called hate book, which it seems like that sometimes. It's a shame. Nobody wants to help for the most part. There's still a lot of good people out there, but there's so much more than enough hate going around, not enough love. I want to just mention a group that has done a great job in the past, and that is Hugs Don't Shoot. And hugs and love, having more of that in our communities, talking to the community members, what had you, inviting somebody to church, letting someone you know cares. So that person, letting someone know that you care about them can make a difference on the way they turn out. Would you agree, Donald?
Yes, I agree.
With the work you're doing?
We need to stop thinking from an emotional standpoint and start thinking from a temperament standpoint.
And we will end with that. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please share this video. And thank you very much, Scott, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
And also Donald.
Yeah, thanks for having me too.
Thank you.